All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Clayton County Library System Virtual Graphic Novel Club. My name is Erica. And today we'll be talking about the Merc with the Mouth, Mr. Deadpool himself. This is an abbreviated version of the Merc with the Mouth because we are a PG-13 podcast. Almost, it's a podcast. Graphic Novel Club. So we're gonna jump right on in so we can be through. We have the new Mutants here. Deadpool was created by Fabian Nicieza and artist-writer Rob Liefeld in 1991. He first appeared in New Mutants number 98 in February of 1991, and he was depicted as a supervillain. Mr. Tolliver hired Deadpool to attack Cable in the New Mutants. He later became a recurring character in the X-Force. Liefeld was a fan of Teen Titans, and he created this character very similar to the character Deathstroke in DC, Deathstroke's Slade Wilson. And that's where he named his character Wade Wilson. So when we always joke and say on this graphic novel club is that nothing is original in comics, everything is stolen. There's an appreciation across the board. You don't have to be purist for either one. They inspire one another. Deadpool received his own series in 1993 with The Circle Chase. It was successful and another series followed in 1994. Now, when I say series, it's just volume 1 and volume 2. He did not get his own comic until later. And in 1994, the second series, which was volume 2, was Deadpool. Nicieza and Liefeld took liberties and had fun with Deadpool because they didn't expect it to last and they expected it to be canceled at any moment. In 1997, Marvel greenlit Deadpool's own series, and it was an action comedy parody of the cosmic drama anti-hero heavy comics of the time. It was written by Joe Kelly and then newcomer artist Ed McGuinness. Wade Wilson is given a backstory this time, and he's getting a supporting cast in his life. We're introduced to his prisoner/den mother, Blind Owl, and his best friend, Weasel. Can't really call anybody in Wade's life friends, though, can you? In the early 2000s, Marvel began to revamp the comic. Deadpool lasted until issue number 69, at which at this point it was relaunched as a new title with a similar character called Agent X. Around this time also was the heyday of the X-Men movies. So I think by this time X2 had come out.
Yeah, but they had started revamping all.
I think they were trying to capitalize on the height of the X-Men movies around this time. Just to note, other X titles and characters were also revamped, including Cable, who also became Soldier X, and the X-Force becoming ecstatic. So Deadpool was killed in an explosion fighting the supervillain Black Swan. In this new series, Deadpool's manager, Sandy Brandenburg, later founded Agent X with a mysterious man called Alex Hayden, who then took the name and dubbed him Agent X. Deadpool later returned to this series. Writer Nicieza came back in 2004 and relaunched Cable and Deadpool. This is the most famous series that Deadpool is in. Like the odd couple there, they are. In this series, Deadpool becomes partnered with his former enemy, Cable. This lasted until 2008, and it was canceled and just renamed Cable. Deadpool shows up next in Wolverine Origins in September 2008. He also gets his own series that year in connection with Marvel's Secret Invasion saga. And Deadpool is working this time with Nick Fury to steal data on how to kill the Skrull Queen, Veronica. So Norman Oswald ends up stealing the information that Deadpool has stolen from the Skrulls, and subsequently stories deal with the fallout from that. So that's the whole Secret Invasion storyline. In 2010, another Deadpool series dropped, and it's called Deadpool Core. But this series features alternate versions of Deadpool, including Lady Deadpool, who debuted in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth, #7, Headpool, the Marvel Zombies version of Deadpool, and with a severed head. And there were two new characters, Kidpool, and who's a child, and Dogpool, which is a dog. I'm not going to cover them today. But those were some of the series. It was a short-lived series, actually. It only lasted 12 issues, and next came Deadpool Volume 2, which Deadpool loses his ability to heal and becomes mortal. Losing his healing factor taught him that he relied too much on it and needed to be more trained to be a better fighter. So he went to Taskmaster to improve his combat skills. But Taskmaster required a favor of him in order to get this said training, and which would consisted of him stealing the PIM particles from S.H.I.E.L.D. Just on top of that, Deadpool has been married 3 times, and he has a daughter named Eleanor with his former girlfriend, Carmelita. He also has been a part of the supervillain group Axis, which Magneto formed to fight Red Skull's on Red Onslaught, and his death came in the Now series, Deadpool #250, involving storylines that co-writers Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn has had in mind since beginning the series. And he also had on Other Earths has died, and in that series, the two Earth, I think it was Earth 616 and another multiverse Earth crashed together, killing everybody. But that was just one of those one-off series, like kind of like the What If. But it's called Now. I haven't seen it, but it exists. In the current Marvel storyline, Deadpool works with Steve Rogers and other members of the Avengers Unity Squad. That squad is no longer together, though, as of today. Not today in general, but just at the time that it was, yeah. But I think, yeah, that was the last Marvel storyline he was really like present in and a part of. He's still a mercenary. He takes solo jobs for pay. Unfortunately, this particular Deadpool is dealing with a lot of guilt because he killed Agent Coulson, taking an order from who he thought was Steve Rogers. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, of how that fallout and how that affects him. And it kind of costs him everything. And that is the beginnings of Deadpool and sort of the endings of Deadpool to current. And as you can see from this picture here, it does look a lot like the Teen Titans of the 80s.
Yeah, I mean,
and the Slade, I mean, yeah, just the Slade, like, yeah, it's very much screaming 80s to me.
All right, so the characters that Deadpool, we know that we're gonna start with Deadpool
himself.
Deadpool, AKA Wade Wilson, first appearance, New Mutants #98, December 1990. Wade Wilson has conflicting memories of his childhood as a result of memories planted in him. Wade grew up in Canada, and despite the memories planted, both his mother and father are alive. He joined the U.S. Army Special Forces, but despite his superior skills, he was drummed out for not following orders that conflicted with his moral code. After a failed suicide attempt just before his 19th birthday, Wade was invited to join a clandestine group of CIA-sponsored mercenary assassins, thanks to his military record, assured that his targets would all deserve death. As a mercenary, he traveled the world and romanced along the way. He began working for a Japanese crime lord called the Boss to kill his rival criminal, the Oyakata. Wilson spent 3 years as a wrestler under the Oyakata's tutelage and became romantically involved with his mentor's daughter, Saze. When the Boss finally ordered the Oyakata's murder, Wilson refused to complete this assignment, allegedly the first time he had ever done so, and relocated to the United States. In America, Wade met and fell in love with mutant prostitute Vanessa Carlyle, with whom he shared dreams of a better life. Wilson was subsequently hired by Middle Eastern interests to assassinate a blind British government operative named Althea, also known as Blind Al. Upon arrival at the Zaire base where she was stationed, he killed everyone except for Al, who had fled. Those who put the contract out on Al sought vengeance for his failure by targeting Vanessa, who was rescued by Zoe Culloden, an employee of the interdimensional firm Landau, Luckman, Lake, and LaQuare. Culloden was keeping Wilson under surveillance, believing he was destined to play a vital part in a potential threat to the world. Learning that he had developed 34 inoperable cancerous tumors, Wilson broke up with his girlfriend Vanessa rather than force her to remain with the terminally ill man. He gave up his chemo treatments, not wishing to prolong things. It was at this time that he moved back to Canada and joined a special project with Department K, a special weapons development branch of the Canadian government. Wilson became a test subject in Department K's branch of the Joint U.S.-Canadian Superhuman Enhancement Project, the Weapon X program. His cancer was temporarily gone via the implantation of a healing factor derived from another Department K agent, the mutant adventurer Wolverine. Wilson was back in the field as a mercenary and had a team that included his former girlfriend, Vanessa, as Copycat. Alas, Wade's treatment failed and the cancer came back. It caused deformities in his flesh. As a result, he was rejected from the Weapon X program and sent to the hospice, allegedly a government facility where failed superhuman operatives were treated. However, unknown to the Canadian government, the hospice's patients served as experimental subjects for Dr. Kilbrew and his sadistic assistant Ajax, known as the attendant. With the patients placing bets in a Deadpool as to how long each subject would live, Kilbrew subjected Wilson to various torturous experiments for his own deranged satisfaction. Now, Wade escapes the Weapon X program and goes back to his life as a mercenary. He was employed as an assassin by Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime. He also clashed with Wolverine, at that time a spy for the Canadian government. At some point during these years, Deadpool caught up with Blind Al and kept her as a prisoner in his home. Al's attempts to escape only resulted in death for those whose help she sought, leaving her no choice but to resign herself to captivity with Deadpool. And
That is dead. That is the beginnings of Deadpool. And that's not even, there's so many stories about him that you find out later. Next on our list is Copycat, AKA Vanessa Carlyle. And her first appearance is actually in New Mutants number 98 in December of 1990. But in this appearance, she is posing as Domino. And you see her for the first time in April 1992 as Vanessa in X-Force number 11, and in her true form is in X-Force number 19 in February of 1993. And then, of course, as Copycat in the Circle Chase number 2 in July of 1993. Vanessa Carlyle was a young mutant prostitute that fell in love with Wade Wilson after his life as a CIA mercenary. Their relationship was good until Wade found out he had cancer and he broke up with Vanessa immediately. He left her heartbroken, and Vanessa has a mutant ability that can duplicate another humanoid or near humanoid so accurately that even those closest to them could not tell the difference. She has that physical features of light blue skin, white hair, and luminescent red eyes. Vanessa can only shapeshift into other humanoids and not animals or other life forms. Her abilities also allow her to enhance her own physical body, allowing her to grow hair, nails, and claws, and to decelerate her aging. She can also create her own avatars through her shape-shifting, virtually becoming a whole new person. Her abilities go so far to create organic and genetic clothing that go with her alternate persona, making her one of the most powerful shapeshifting metaphors alive. And the difference between her, because when you think about someone who could do this, you think about Mystique. Mystique can only mimic in a sense, whereas she, like down probably to her DNA, if somebody took blood from her, they would think that this is why she's so good at what she does. And so Vanessa became a mercenary after Wade left her when he got his cancer. And she became known as Copycat after this. She began working for an arms dealer, Mr. Tolliver, and who had her impersonate the mercenary Domino so he could spy on Cable. He had her join Cable's new X-Force strike team, and Tolliver ultimately ordered Copycat to bomb X-Force's headquarters, but she had come to care for her teammates, and she stalled until Tolliver dispatched the masked mercenary Deadpool to force her hand. Confronted by X-Force over her betrayal, but still posing as Domino, Copycat helped them fight Tolliver, while Cable discovered the true Domino was still alive and was being kept as Tolliver's prisoner. Vanessa would float in and out of Deadpool's life after this. When Domino sought revenge for Copycat impersonating her in X-Force, Deadpool came along to help Domino chase her down. Domino allowed Copycat to live only because she knew where Domino could find the new team of X-Force. So Vanessa continued her life as a mercenary, but eventually tried to live a quiet existence in San Francisco. She was recruited by Taskmaster and Wizard to impersonate Titana and gain Deadpool's trust again. Unfortunately, during this time, Vanessa took an experimental drug in the Weapon X program that began to affect her memories. She became a liability and Deadpool was sent to kill her. He could not, but Sabretooth did, and he did kill her. I've heard though that I read that she may not be dead, but she's not popped back up. I think the House of M was where she pops back up when they reverse the House of M. So, yeah. And that is Copycat.
Or either it's International Women's Day. All right. So, our next guy called a Frenemies stars as an enemy with
Yeah.
being his partner.
Yep, they're the odd couple, I think,
Right.
when I think of them.
The X-Men Cable, aka Nathan Summers, whose first appearance was the Uncanny X-Men number 201 in October of '85 as a baby. And as Cable, New Mutants number 86, December '89. Now, Nathan Summers was sent to the future after he was infected by a techno-organic virus. This act saved his life and gave him cybernetic enhancements, teleportation technology, robotic arms, mechanical eye with many weaponized capabilities. He is also a mutant. He can telepathically read most minds, manipulate others' thoughts and bodies. He can shield his own mind against probing, levitate telekinetically, and disassemble or move other objects or beings. He is the son of Scott, Cyclops, and Madeline Pryor, the clone of Jean Grey Summers. Mr. Sinister created this clone and had her seduce Scott. We're talking about Madeline Pryor at the moment. Mr. Sinister believed that this union would create a powerful mutant. Once born, Nathan Summers was the target of a plot to open a portal between Earth and the demon-infested dimension of Limbo. This was thwarted by members of X Factor and the X-Men, such as the real Jean Grey, who was presumed dead, but left his mother dead. He was sent to the 39th century as a child due to Mr. Sinister wanting to use Nathan against his former master, Apocalypse, in Sabah. But Apocalypse learned of this and had Nathan kidnapped. Apocalypse infected Nathan with a deadly techno-organic virus to see if he would make a worthy host, hoping to use the powerful mutant's body for his own. After Apocalypse was defeated by X Factor, a member of the clan Ascani, a sisterhood dedicated to opposing Apocalypse in the alternative future of Earth 4935, offered to save Nathan's life by taking him to her own era. Ascani is actually Nathan's sister from another timeline, Rachel Summers. She makes a clone of Nathan just in case the treatment plan to save his life does not work. Apocalypse kidnaps the clone and raises him to become Strife. When Deadpool was introduced in New Mutants number 98, he was an enemy to them. Deadpool was an assassin who was sent to kill Cable and the New Mutants by Tolliver. He was able to subdue most of the team on his own before getting literally stabbed in the back by his partner, Domino, who was also introduced in this issue. and mailed back to Tolliver in a box by Cable. They formed an unlikely alliance and worked together in their title series, Cable and Deadpool. They were basically presented as an odd couple.
But that only lasted for a few
Right.
years too.
How long do you think you would last around somebody like that?
Absolutely. All right, next on our list as a frenemy is Blind Owl. Her first appearance was in Deadpool Volume 3, number 1, January 1997. Blind Owl was created by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness when Marvel greenlit Deadpool's own series in the mid-1990s. He was given more of a backstory and quote-unquote friends. Al was involved with the British intelligence, although we never know her capacity in the British intelligence. And by this point, she was already blind and had been for most of her life. Wade Wilson was hired to kill her in Zaire, but where she was stationed, but he killed everyone around her, which ended up allowing her to escape. The blind woman escaped being killed, and he killed everybody else. But after receiving the healing factor from Weapon X and going insane, Deadpool found Al again and captured her because he was correcting his job. And he kept her captive for 2 years and then went on a long mission. Al used this opportunity to escape and went to Maine. She was headed to a friend's house, but when she got there, Deadpool was already waiting for her. He had tortured her friend almost to death. The bizarre relationship was a cross between a prisoner, friend, housekeeper, Greek chorus, and mother figure to Deadpool. At times, Wade would be unbelievably cruel to Al, and he would frequently insult her and play cruel pranks. Taking advantage of her blindness, he forbade her visitors and would kill anyone who tried to help her escape. Al seemed to wield a subtle authority over him, though, and seemed to be the only person who was not afraid to stand up to him. The pranks never bothered her, as she was more than clever enough to get back at the pool. Putting laxatives in his food was her favorite, and she was even sharper than he was when it came to insults. It is also noted that Blind Owl we can tell that she's old, but there's a connection between her and Captain Steve Rogers that Deadpool found out because, he and Steve end up being friends, and she gives him like a medal, and it has "Thanks for the good times." And it was given to Al by Steve. It says, Steve Rogers on it. And so it is insinuated that she and Captain America, which makes her super old, had a thing.
Like about the same age.
Yeah, they had a thing.
Or maybe she was a young girl.
Well, she was, because she works for British intelligence, and at that time, she worked very closely. Peggy Carter does not exist, so she only exists in Nixie.
Right.
That could be Blind Owl's inspiration.
All right. So our next character is the character of Weasel, whose first appearance would have been Cable number 3, July 1993.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
All right, so another of Deadpool's friends is
Quote unquote.
right. Created by Fabian Nicieza and Klaus Janson. He first appeared in Cable number 3. Originally a Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy at Empire State University by the name of Jackhammer. By the time this placed Deadpool manipulated events so the future Weasel would end up becoming an inventor with a passion for criminal activity. By the modern day, Weasel had become a skilled weapons designer and all-around tech guru, and one of Deadpool's most dependable allies during his heyday as a mercenary. The two developed something of a friendship over the years, albeit one where Wade routinely teased and mocked Weasel. Weasel often repaid this kindness with a soft spine, often quickly betraying Deadpool as soon as someone would come looking for information. Now, remember now, and he was not only a weapon designer, but he ran
the bar, the club.
Deadpool got his job since Wade Wilson.
Mhm.
To say they have a complicated relationship is an understatement. Deadpool has tortured Weasel just like he does Blind Eye. He punishes him for slight inconveniences, putting him in torture boxes. Weasel briefly worked for Hydra as the penetrator, creating weapons such as the Hydra teleporter, which only dropped off agents in prison.
Yeah, I was like, that was helpful.
Weasel once again betrayed Wade to work alongside a team of Deadpool's former allies, such as Blind Owl and Taskmaster, and try to kill him. After failing to kill Deadpool, it left Weasel vulnerable, allowing Macho Gomez to kill him. He ended up in hell and allied himself with Mephisto. Making a deal with the devilish figure, Weasel was returned to the land of the living, where he took on the identity of Patient Zero. He hired Deadpool to kill Peter Parker and used the ensuing chaos to break into Parker Industries and steal all of Parker's info on genetic splicing. Spider-Man and Deadpool were forced to work together to try and defeat Patient Zero, especially after he created the murderous Itsy Bitsy from the DNA of both Spider-Man and Deadpool. When that plan failed, Weasel ended up back in hell. Mephisto gave him another chance, this time to corrupt Deadpool. Weasel worked to find a way to turn Deadpool into Hell's own assassin, even recruiting the vigilante Goodnight for his purposes. Promising that a refusal to take up Mephisto's offer to become his personal assassin would result in Wade's daughter, Ellie, eventually taking that position herself. Deadpool agreed, resulting in Weasel's resurrection for a job completed, with the two even seeming to part on decent terms. Deadpool was eventually released from his contract with Mephisto because he annoyed him too bad.
Yeah, how you get annoyed to death?
Right.
And you're the literally physical embodiment of the devil. Well, that is.
Hey, you know what? There's another, and we're not going to cover them, so let me just bring them up since we talk about Weasel. There's another guy that worked for Hydra Bob, that we might have to give him his own episode of the graphic novel club. If you get a chance, read up on Hydra Bob.
All right, I will.
All right.
That sounds like your basic, like sitting at a cubicle guy.
Yes, yes.
Next on our list is someone we've covered recently. We've covered her in the Marvel Cosmos, and that is Death. Her first appearance was in Marvel Mystery Comics number 21 in May of 1941. And Death brings destruction and rot. She has no true physical form, but she can manifest in such a form as to interact with physical entities. Although she usually appears as human or human skeleton, presumably it appears to other species in their own forms. Death rarely speaks out loud. Its presence alone can usually convey its message. Her home is in the realm of death, and she formed an attachment to two Marvel characters, Thanos and Deadpool, carrying on a relationship with Thanos and a situationship with Deadpool. In an effort to keep Deadpool away from death, Thanos once cursed him not to die. Sometime later, Death was kidnapped by Eternity, bringing an imbalance to the cosmos since living creatures would suddenly become immortal. Believing that Thanos was responsible for Death's disappearance, Deadpool tracked him down, but when Deadpool arrived on Thanos' ship to defeat him, Thanos rescinded his curse, turning Deadpool into a mortal once again to kill him. However, upon realizing that Death would only speak to Wade, Thanos resurrected him in order to save her. When the pair managed to travel to Eternity's realm and encountered him personally, Thanos attacked mercilessly and blaming Eternity for all of his life's ills. Wilson, realizing that this was what Death wanted all along, attacked Thanos and was possessed by the Unipower, giving him equal ground. Giving Deadpool the powers of Captain Universe. That's one we haven't heard before. Using these powers, Deadpool and Thanos fought on equal ground, but Deadpool's speech during the fight convinced Death of a validity of life's existence, causing the Mistress of Death to whisk Thanos away, and for later purposes, because she's never finished with him, and to return to her own, restoring mortality to the universe.
Now,
That's just a random plays game.
yes, now that Captain Universe,
Mhm.
it's almost like Captain.
Mm.
You get the unipower, then you can turn it into stuff. Like if you're granted the unipower. I can't remember, it's not with the rings, it's like, you know what, he's almost on par with, what's his name, Adam Warlock.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
Okay. You know, he is actually going to be
Yeah.
showing up in the MCU
does.
soon.
After they teased him.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's
Should be in Guardians of the Galaxy. shouldn't it?
3,
Yeah.
falling 3. Yeah.
All right, the next character we're going to speak on is Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. First appearance, Captain America, comics #1, March 1941.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Captain America is Marvel's first super soldier. Deadpool has worked with Cap and also on teams with Cap. Wade teamed up with Captain Wolverine to dismantle a North Korean super soldier program in Death Camp. The mission was very personal to Wade, as the Death Camp was also holding his family hostage. When he failed to save them, Cap helped him stay sane, which is another large piece to why Wade carries a lot of respect for Steve Rogers. Not too long after that, Captain America asked Wade to join his Avengers Unity squad, as Rogers needed a replacement for Wolverine after his death. Wade agreed, becoming a resource to Cap, especially for under-the-radar missions that required a trigger man. Deadpool has also been used by a rogue Hydra Captain America to kill Agent Coulson, who had begun to discover and unravel the conspiracy behind the newly sinister Rogers. Wade, seeing no reason to ever doubt his hero, followed Cap's orders to the letter. Wade would then go on to essentially be Cap's hired gun for Hydra, killing other heroes as well, wanting to please his childhood hero and friend. When the Hydra's plot was uncovered, it destroyed Deadpool. He murdered a lot of his fellow teammates and friends due to this deception. He had his memories erased due to this, including his friendship with Cap.
Yes. And this is they actually say this is the only hero he actually respects.
Right.
Like he fully respects, and now he's erased all that. Next on our list is Frenemies, because who can ever be a friend? First on the list is T-Ray. He was one of his first nemesis in a sense. He first appeared in Deadpool #1 in January 1997. While vacationing in Maine with his wife, Wade Winston Wilson ran into a young man on the run from his employers named Jack. Wade allowed the youth to stay in their cabin until it was safe. Jack revealed that he was going to kill Wade and take his identity as soon as he got into the cabin. Jack killed Mercedes, Wade's wife, and beat Wade almost to death. When Jack's employers showed up, Wade asked them to train him, and if he survived, to train him, and so he could get even with the youth who did this to his family. He was granted this wish, and in Japan, Wade became T-Ray. He became an accomplished sorcerer, transforming into more of a muscular albino form and allegedly trading his soul to beings called the Dark Masters. As he honed his skills as an assassin, he offered the souls of his victims to his masters. That sounds kind of like the soul sword that a girl from Japan and The Outsiders has. Interesting how these stories just roll on. As he honed his skills as an assassin, he offered the souls of his victims. I'm sorry, I already read that. And when T-Ray finally tracked, quote unquote, Jack down in his place, in a place called,
No, I was reading along.
Yeah, in a place called Hell House, he was now calling himself Deadpool. And he had also stolen Wade's identity as Wade Wilson. They became rivals, competing for job and for top dog status in Hell House. It was later revealed, though, that the story was the complete opposite. Deadpool was Wade Wilson and T-Ray was Jack. Once this came to light, T-Ray later resurrected Mercedes Wilson and hired the mercenary Bullseye to place her in jeopardy, whilst Deadpool was then hired to go on a mission where he would encounter her. So basically meeting his dead wife again, which was probably traumatic. Believing her to be his own wife, Deadpool protected her and started to gain hope and began planning to rebuild their lives together. T-Ray took pleasure in revealing what really happened of their true roles in her death. T-Ray transformed Mercedes into an albino form, much like his then ghost forms of Deadpool's many victims, to further crush his enemy's spirits. Thus, failed though, and after a fight with Deadpool, eventually departed with Mercedes to continue their life together.
Yeah, T-Ray is one of the most disturbed characters that like even that you could say even against Deadpool.
Yeah,
actually.
And that's hard to say.
Right.
He's disturbed.
All right, so next up we have Black Swan, whose
Now,
first appearance, Deadpool number 65, The Healing Factor.
I openly laughed.
Yes. Black Swan was raised as an assassin in the Bavarian Alps to an aristocratic family. Black Swan is a mutant. He has a reputation of being a rude snob, but also a gentleman assassin. The Swan accepted a contract to assassinate the heads of the Four Winds crime cartel, which he intended to use as his swan song to cap his illustrious career. However, the hit was accidentally interrupted by the mercenary Deadpool, who was publicly given credit for the kill. Desiring revenge for this public embarrassment, the Swan teamed up with Neo, brother of Miani Moyori, Southwind, who was actually killed in the hit, to destroy Deadpool's reputation permanently. Tricking Deadpool into entering his German castle, the Swan implanted a sonic virus in his brain, causing Deadpool to allow himself to be beaten almost to death by the Swan before returning to America with his memories of the last several hours wiped clean.
That is his mutant power.
Right.
To mess with people's minds.
Using Neo to monitor Deadpool's activities, the Swan was increasingly angered to learn that his mind virus was not destroying Deadpool's career as quickly as he had hoped. Relearning who had attacked him, a mentally deteriorating Deadpool confronted Neo and the Black Swan in his castle. Deadpool witnessed the Black Swan kill Neo before he used a bomb threat to force Swan to cure his schizophrenic assistant, Ratbag, Eric Massisi. Swan fought Deadpool, ransacking his mind to gain the bomb's deactivation codes. However, the Swan pushed his powers beyond their previous limits, enabling Deadpool to access his mind as easily as he accessed Deadpool's, who then overpowered the Swan and threw him into a lit fireplace grill before the bomb went off, seemingly killing both men. And that was the Black Swan. And evidently based on the picture that I found from the actual comic where this fight took place, he has used sharks as a weapon.
Yes.
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 Only Deadpool.
Only Deadpool. Next on our list is Hit Monkey.
One of my favorites.
First appearance, Hit Monkey #1, February 2010. A human hitman was wounded and sought refuge in the mountains. He was cared for by a macaque monkeys in these mountains. Unfortunately, he was trailed by a gang of hitmen who then took his life and the monkeys who rescued him. A single monkey survived, taking his first life as revenge. Armed with a duffel bag of firearms and a new purpose, Hit Monkey strikes for the first time and his aim proves deadly. The spirit of the hitman guides the Hit Monkey, and when he finds out who the actual assassin was, which was General Kato, but Kato has a new bodyguard, of course, Bullseye. Hit Monkey eventually gets his revenge, but he also gives him a career with Stake, which is S-T-A-K-E, which is a division of S.H.I.E.L.D. Stake handles all things alien, mystical beasts, and extra normal entities of all types. S.H.I.E.L.D. appoints Hit Monkey as a liaison to Deadpool and Domino's new Merc Squad for profit. Why do they get to have a merch squad for profit within Shield?
I'll tell you.
But they really just need him to spy. And it's a double con which continues when still actual target is revealed because Hitmonkey spies for them, but Wade knows.
So the complete storyline with Hitmonkey is that Hitmonkey was hired by some Japanese gangsters to actually kill Deadpool first.
Mhm.
All right, so after him trying to kill Deadpool, they go toe to toe.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is later on, Deadpool is looking at that. Well, Spider-Man has basically said, you know, this murder occurred. There's a baker or something. And he said the only person this precise is Deadpool. So he calls Deadpool out. But Deadpool is, no, I did not do this. The only person more precise than I am is the Hitmonkey. So they go after the Hitmonkey, but the Hitmonkey, they don't know the Hitmonkey has another contract out for Deadpool. So they go back and forth, and Deadpool actually fakes Spider-Man's death because Hitmonkey and Spider-Man are actually cool. When at the funeral, Hitmonkey is giving his last respects, and Deadpool basically had dressed as Spider-Man, changed his costume, and laid in the cat. He allows himself to be killed as Spider-Man. So they hold the funeral. During the funeral, you know, Deadpool has the regenerative factor. So while he's in the casket, he's just biding his time. He jumps out of the casket and attacks Hitmonkey, but Hitmonkey actually gets away. Now, what ends up happening later was Hitmonkey is hired by Shield. Now he's hired by Shield, and he's not actually a part of it's not that Shield has the Mercs for Money. What happens is Deadpool has started the Mercs for Money squad. But that's not what they were originally called. They were originally called Heroes for Hire. But he gets sued by Luke Cage and Danny Rand. And so he changes the name of it to Mercs for Money. Now, after he disbands he doesn't disband the first group. He gets in trouble. And Domino restarts the group and brings Deadpool back in, but lets him know, hey, you're no longer the leader. I lead this. And so with him working along with that group, now Hitmonkey is still working for Shield. Shield hires the Mercs for Money for jobs, but allows Hitmonkey to be the liaison. So with him having the skills that he has, he actually goes on the missions with the Mercs for Money, who are under contract by Shield.
Can't wait to see him in the MCU.
Oh, well, now Hitmonkey already has a show on Hulu. You gotta see. I heard about that. It explains everything. It doesn't go into the Deadpool situation, but explains how he becomes Hitmonkey. It goes into the whole situation.
I remember
it's pretty dope.
Okay. Cool. Next on our list.
Oh yeah. Okay. So next on the list we have is Madcap. First appearance, Captain America number 307, July 1985. The man who would become Madcap was a religious man belonging to a group that organized a field trip, basically. This man, his parents, and his sister Katie went on the trip in a bus with some other 40 people. Terrorist scientists from AIM were trying to destroy a chemical developed by themselves, chemical XO7, which apparently included enzymes to incite a rapid healing in human bodies. The accident killed all of the people on the bus. Basically because they rode through, I guess, the area where they were trying to head this off. And everybody was killed on the bus except for the man who would become Madcap. Coincidentally, this man laid unconscious for hours in a pool of XO7, which would eventually evaporate. He would recover consciousness in a hospital, but then discovered that he was the sole survivor and his faith in a rational universe collapsed. He ran away from the hospital in Deadpool number 14 and tried to throw himself in front of a car to commit suicide. To his surprise, he was unharmed and felt no pain at all. This drove him completely mad. He correctly suspected that the accident had given him this immunity to damage. but could not understand why he was to obtain power from an accident which had killed 40 people, including his family and friends. He had different encounters with heroes around New York, such as Captain America, Daredevil, and She-Hulk. He met Deadpool right before Marvel's Secret Invasion. Madcap ran into Deadpool on a rooftop while the Merc with the Mouth was attempting a hit on Matt Murdock. There was a short quarrel between the two where they compared healing factors, and a failed attempt to drive Deadpool insane led to a battle with Daredevil and Thor. Thor electrocuted the pair to dust while they were holding each other, so when they regenerated, only Deadpool seemed to survive. Madcap, however, lived on inside Deadpool's mind, manifesting to Deadpool in the form of a white caption box until after the conflict between the Avengers and the X-Men, where similar circumstances split the pair apart once more. That is the most absurd story.
It is.
But now, because I did not read all of Deadpool, but I did capture some of those stories with the little white caption boxes where it seems like he's talking to himself.
But he's talking.
But now I know
he's talking
that he's talking to Madcap.
Yeah. And that's what, yeah.
But can you imagine the fact that they were holding on to each other when Thor disintegrated them, which, if you know anything about Deadpool, was probably one of them hugs where he went through one leg. Yeah.
All right. Next on our list is Mr. Ajax, aka Francis. We've discussed him. His first appearance was in Deadpool number 14 in March of 1998. Francis was a longtime government operative that underwent a cybernetic enhancement by Dr. Kilbrew in Canada's Weapon X program. Dubbed the workshop, the facility was a place where Weapon X rejects would be sent so Dr. Kilbrew could perform his sadistic experiments on them. Wade Wilson, who would later become known as Deadpool, was one of those people that Kilbrew took great pleasure in experimenting on. Francis was feared by many of the inmates due to the poor treatment of them, but however, Wilson eventually got enough courage to undermine his authority by calling him insulting names in front of everyone. Kilbrew then told Francis that Wilson was not to be touched unless otherwise stated. Francis would have to find another way to put the fear back into those inmates. He took Worm, one of Wilson's friends, and made in the compound, one of Wilson's friends that he made in the compound, and strapped him to a torture device. He then told Wilson in front of all the inmates that unless he started showing him some respect, his friends would be the ones to pay the price for Wilson's insubordination. Unsure of what to do, Worm reminded Wilson that the benefits his intolerance brought to the inmates. So Wilson once again insulted Francis, and Worm was tortured to near death as a result. To ease his suffering, Wilson snapped Worm's neck. Francis then took Wilson to Dr. Kilbrew's laboratory, where Kilbrew told Francis that he had permission to kill Wilson. Francis rips Wilson's heart out, and however, as Francis and Kilbrew left the lab, Wilson's healing factor begins to kick in, much to the surprise, and it restores him to life. Taking the name Deadpool, that's when he gets his name, because of the Deadpool that they have with the inmates. Wilson knocked out some of the guards unconscious, took their guns, and went to find Francis. He found him once ordering the inmates by telling them new rules of the facility. When Francis saw that Wilson was once alive, he immediately attacked him. Wilson merely shot him a few times and apparently killed him. The inmates then escaped the facility. And I believe one of those inmates may have been Wolverine. Francis survived this attack, but he began calling himself Ajax after this, and he started to hunt down and kill many of the surviving members of that Weapon X project. He found Dr. Kilbrew and told him to send for Deadpool, but Kilbrew refused, and Ajax tortured him for the information. Ajax activated the teleporter and brought Deadpool to the Alps where they were, and Ajax quickly sucker punched him off a cliff, killing him once again. Deadpool was greeted by death and several of the former inmates of the workshop. They told him since Deadpool came back once from the dead to kill Francis, he was obligated by his oath he made those many years ago until he came through on his end of the bargain. Death restored him back to life, and he went back to rescue Dr. Kilbrew, who had told him that he knew a way to defeat Ajax. But that was a lie. It was just a way to save his life. It was a lie. That too was a lie. At the moment Ajax appeared and the battle commenced once again, Deadpool was badly beaten, but Dr. Kilbrew snuck up behind Ajax and doused his face with gasoline before setting him on fire. He did this as a way to break the cycle of violence that he started so many years ago. Ajax took his revenge by spinning Kilbrew around so fast that he shredded him to pieces. Ajax then caught up with Deadpool once more, but fell a victim to a trap laid by the mercenary, slipping on a sheet of ice and hitting his head on a rock. This managed to expose his armor circuitry as Deadpool plunged both of them into the lake. Despite his best efforts to break free, Ajax was killed when Deadpool snapped his neck.
Oh my God, yeah. Now, so yeah, Ajax is the sadistic, oh my God, I almost used the word. He's a sadistic dude who in the movie, remember, he goes in and he says, in the movie, he creates Deadpool by setting the oxygen rate in that little tank that he was in. Remember, it burned him alive.
Gave him that super cute Freddy Krueger.
Right. All right, now, so next up. Controversy alert. Controversy alert. You will not find this character on any of Marvel's websites or in the Marvel universe. However, she is in the comic. Matter of fact, she is in several issues of the comic. I can honestly say, to me and to other people, she does sound like the Marvel universe's version of Harley Quinn without the superpower tantrum rage that Harley Quinn gets to have. All right, and who we're speaking of is Ella Whitney. Her first appearance, Deadpool, Volume 4, number 40, July 2011. And I believe her last appearance is somewhere around issue number 46 or 47, somewhere around that area. Now, while Deadpool was being held in the Crossmore Institution in England, Dr. Whitby offered to help him. She soon after helped him escape from the institution and confessed her love for him, but he did not confess his for her.
Of course not.
Now, after this, she displayed some stalker tendencies. She finds Deadpool after he escapes and professes her love once more, going so far as to wear a rather unflattering Deadpool costume. Deadpool fends her off and goes to inspect her house. Here he discovers the extent of her love. She has dismembered body parts belonging to him in her refrigerator, all collected from various points in time. Their purpose, he surmises, was being to create a skin suit. He then deduced that she was going to kill the head Warren of the Crossmore Institution in some sort of tribute to him. Now, whilst on the way to the warden's house, Deadpool theorizes that Ella would try and emulate his killing method by boiling tea made with ammonium nitrate on the stove, with a plastic bag in the oven filling up with gas, but sees that she is just sitting on the couch waiting with a gun. Entering the building, it is revealed that Ella did think of exactly the method that Deadpool imagined, and intentionally catches both of them in the explosion. Now, Deadpool survives, unsurprisingly, and returns to Whitby's apartment to dump the body parts that she had accumulated. Now, via his healing factor, those body parts came together to form evil Deadpool. Now, when Whitby she survives the explosion as well and shows back up at her apartment. She walks through the door, however, horribly burned from the explosion. It is here that she again confesses her love, but instead of just telling her that he doesn't love her, Wade tells her that he loves someone else. And in this response, it is then that she commits suicide.
That is why she does not exist.
That is why the Marvel comics they don't pay homage to her as a character or anything, because as you know, the Deadpool well, hell, they thought they were going to
Yeah,
canceled at any moment
Yeah.
because of everything that
They
Deadpool
were
was
doing.
doing. Why not put something like this in the storyline? You know, and it fits if you actually see the comic panels, which I didn't want to put in here because you never know when something is triggering.
Mhm.
When you see the comic panels, is not as gross of a scene as you think it is, because honestly, she looks like a version of Deadpool, so it kind of takes the humanity from it for a split second.
Gotcha.
You know, but other than that, you know, it's all quite horrible. But that is Ella Whitby, and that's the last character we talk about.
And
You have to go research this one for yourself.
Yes, this one is, like I said, we said there's a lot of stuff because we are a PG-13 book club. And we're not going to go into everything about Deadpool, but you can research. This is some of the stuff that we did. And you can also, there's a lot of stuff out there about him, just due to the fact of the movies and stuff like that. And is he or is he not coming into the MCU? So there he is there, the movie version. And it is joked about a lot early on, like in the 2000s, they started basing his character in the comics on Ryan Reynolds. That is how Ryan Reynolds got the part.
Ryan Reynolds actually got the part.
Yeah, he said when in Wolverine,
yeah,
when he first played Deadpool, which was not the most accurate Deadpool, but you know, it was a version of him.
Yeah, but in the comics, I
Yeah.
there was a phrase where
He wanted to be played by Ryan
but they asked
Reynolds.
they asked describe yourself, and he was like, yeah, I look like a cross between Ryan Reynolds and a Sharpay.
Yeah. And so and Ryan, ever since then, Ryan always petitioned to play him and has been playing him ever since.
Right.
Don't forget to check out Comics Plus, where you can download digital comics, graphic novels, and manga from the Clayton County Library System. Please go to our website and check them out. And join us in 2 weeks when we'll be talking about DC's Young Justice. It is Pride Month, and we will cover some of.
Having a real great time watching this cartoon.
I know, I loved it when it was on Netflix, and I have yet to pick it back up on HBO Max. I do. I started over though, because it's been some years, so I started over.
It's almost Young Justice is what you wanted. The HBO Max version of the Titans to be.
Oh, gotcha. Let's see, there we go. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks, and happy Pride Month, guys.